Welcome back to another episode. Again, this is we're talking about Love Actually, which is 2003 British romantic comedy film that is Christmas themed. It stars a whole ensemble cast of actors that I'm not going to go into, but they're on Wikipedia. But what essentially this movie does is it airs a lot of these short stories. It follows a lot of these different characters and their stories. And there's sort of it's basically a lot of vignettes jam packed into one film, where some of the characters are kind of interweaved between different stories. Like they're all kind of there's a connection between all of them in some way. In fact, there's actually a graph of all the relationships on Wikipedia if you go to the movie, the film. So that's essentially the premise of this film. It was basically I liked it for the comedy aspect and for the different relationships that were unfolding, not just romantic ones, but familiar ones, friendships, different forms of love, if you will, and sort of seeing all these different characters, their stories unfold, even though some of them may didn't necessarily have to be there, or some of them felt a bit rushed because there were so many of them. It was very heartwarming to me to sort of see how they interact with each other and also see different characters from different stories come together in some sense. Especially at the end of the airport. That was that was a nice climax, in my opinion. And yeah, that's essentially it. I think uh, for me it was a pretty feel good movie. I didn't take it too seriously. I liked the comedy, I liked the acting, um, and it wasn't too convoluted, despite how many characters there were. Like this
Mhm.
plot was fairly straightforward. There wasn't really much of an overarching plot. It was just vignettes of short stories, essentially. Yeah.
Okay.
How about you, Mr. Austin?
Yeah. No, for me, I mean, it had a lot of emotions going on, right? It lived for different layers of relationships, which I appreciated. But sometimes I just felt like this story was a bit disjointed. There's a lot of story and character points, which I don't know if they should have included in this movie. I think some of the more wholesome relationships, right? Had prominence, and I think they should have probably expanded on other relationships and stories. Just I feel like we're kind of shallow and I don't know if they do really need to delve into it or even cut away to it. Again, yeah, they
Yeah.
just kind of felt like cutaways, right? What we kind of say was John and Judy, the sex stunt doubles, right? Colin and his adventures in America. I feel like the rock star and his manager. Yeah, the relationship was nice. Something new and important.
Rockstar Manager. Those are okay. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
But yeah, again, it kind of just seemed like again cutaways to these were like very independent stories that kind of were baked into it, right? Well, other relationships that I really enjoyed, again, I think my most favorite one was again the stepson and the stepfather, right? Just kind of showing this relationship of family and how supportive he was. I think that was really wholesome and sweet. So yeah, a lot of
Mhm.
relationships here are just a lot of the stories here just very very independent. And somehow they kind of wove it together, and I don't know if if it was great. And yeah, I think in this movie, about love, there's a lot of infidelity going on, which I guess makes sense, in terms of like how the different facets of love, the different challenges. Like one of the biggest challenges, yeah, there's infidelity, right? Someone who maybe doesn't love you anymore, or is loves somebody else. So that's I think a big kind of component here. Um,
Yeah.
and yes, yeah, just some dynamics in in this movie I think are maybe inappropriate or just I did not enjoy. Like I think the prime minister and his the maid or assistant, right? Yeah, that could be seen as another relationship that's forming, but yeah, there's the power dynamic which I felt a little bit uncomfortable with. And
Yeah.
then the story with Peter, Mark, and Juliet, that kind of seemed a bit. I mean, which again, it's a good story. There's conflict there and whatnot, right? But his actions weren't good. But I don't think that storyline bothered me. I think it was interesting to see unfold. It's just that the way that it's unfolded, it just didn't go too well. And then other relationships seem rushed and whatnot. So I think yeah, I mean it's the writing is good, the dialogue is great, and I think the actors and actresses all perform well. But I just think the stories there's a lot happening. Some things sort of rushed, and the pacing was kind of off. So
Mm. Okay. Cool. Well, I guess we agree to disagree
yeah,
on some
yeah.
of those matters. But no, that's good. All right. Final ratings. I guess I'll start.
Okay.
But actually, what do you think I rate? What do you think I would rate this?
You would rate this? I want to say I think you might give it an 8.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. I give it an 8. And then now it's time for me to guess what you rate it. Hmm, I think you give it a 5.
I give it a 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah,
Oh,
because the movie's
all
not
right.
terrible, right? I feel like I
Interesting. Okay.
I for me like if like what drops a movie down is like obviously I think the like writing and the dialogue and the comedy, right? But here
Yeah.
I understood. I think like I picked up the humor, right? Sometimes I maybe I don't have
Yeah.
like not the sense of humor is just not does not jive. Here I think it jived with me. I think what really bothered me is just the again this the what stories were included and how it's baked in. Um,
Okay.
would I recommend the film? Hard to say. If you like rom coms, yeah, I guess I would say yeah, go ahead.
It's just movies.
But I don't know if I would like full on give my endorsement. Like, yeah, definitely watch this film. You know, if
Oh,
you like it.
but
So
oh, okay.
that's
All right.
why
All right.
it's less than a 7. You know, but it's more. I think it's like an average film. It does elevate a little bit, but not something I would just like full on like recommend someone to watch. As like, maybe to a certain audience, I say yeah, you can watch. You know, if you like this movie, definitely go ahead. Otherwise, I would probably stay away from it. So
Wow.
yeah.
It's a Christmas film. Definitely recommend it. As a Christmas, as a comedy, as a Christmas film for sure. Yes, it's gotta watch it. Gotta watch it. Cool. Well, that concludes this stream.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we disagree. I thought you would rate it lower, but I guess
I mean, it had its merits, right? Like, I'm not saying like it was the worst thing. I mean, I think it does better than above average, but
yeah, yeah.
just barely above
Okay.
average, right? But not to the point where I recommend. So,
All right, all right, all right. Fair enough. Agree to disagree once again. Cool. Well, that concludes this episode, this stream. We'll be back next week. Um, same time, Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, and with a new film that we will decide off stream,
yep,
and we'll update this schedule accordingly. So
yep, yep, yep.
until then, we will see you next week.